Hello and welcome to the Moonshots Podcast. It's episode, wait for this, 280. That's right, I'm your co-host, Mike Parsons, and as always, I'm joined by the man himself, the mindful man, Mr. Mark Pearson Freeland. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, Mike. Good morning, listeners, members, and viewers. We are getting into something incredibly mindful today, Mike. We're really going to put our minds towards unlocking, I suppose, a sense of Zen-ness and practicing our sort of Buddhist behaviors, right?
I think that by the end of the show, our signature energy will have transformed from the general overexcitedness that we sort of bring to this show to a present, calm, mindful manner, thanks to our very special topic today.
That's right. And I think you're probably right. Let's put our minds into the area. I can already feel myself talking just a little bit more mindfully, a little bit slower. Yeah. As I get ready to share with our listeners who is the topic of today's episode 280. And listeners, we have the great pleasure of digging into Jon Kabat-Zinn, who, as you're going to find out in today's episode, is quite well known for bringing mindfulness into the masses, into mainstream media, I suppose you could say, Mike. But as you pointed out before we got into recording today, his angle is not only in that mindful meditation-esque practicing, but also one that has a foot within the science and the medicine side of it, doesn't he?
Yeah, so at the heart of what we're doing today is a journey into somebody who has truly invested themselves in addressing stress, which I think all of us can agree is something we all experience, and solving it through mindfulness, right, Mark?
Yeah, that's right. So today, listeners and members and viewers, we are going to dive into Jon's work, specifically his 9 attitudes that can help you consider a mindfulness-based stress reduction. You can try, as we invite you in today's episode and the following couple of episodes that we'll have on number 281 and 282, is to put some of these attitudes and behaviors into practice as we have done. Because he founded this behavior changing method, Mike, if you can believe it, back in 1979. So the fact that Jon is still within the realm of science, within mindfulness, just shows how timeless and contemporary that work really is. And I even read that his work is practiced and offered within hospitals, within care units, schools, and even prisons. Yeah. So there's definitely an element of foundational behavior that I think we're going to learn today and hopefully be able to build on over the next couple of episodes.
Yeah, so I think for anyone who's experiencing stress, fear, uncertainty, doubt, anxiety through just the general day-to-day working, I think what is special to note about Jon is that he treats hundreds of patients who have stress problems, and he uses his 9 mindfulness techniques, which will have familiar hallmarks to Joseph Nguyen, Eckhart Tolle, Michael Singer. But what is so great about what we can share with you, our listeners today, is not only is this man going to make you feel more relaxed as you listen to him, he's so mindful, but you can see and listen to and witness true mastery of being more mindful, being present, being calm, being less stressed. He truly is, through treating thousands and thousands of people, he has articulated these 9 practices, and it's such a joy for us to share them. And what we're going to do today is hopefully share with you what we've discovered, how we've tried to use his practices so that you can too. So, Mark, now that we are here and present, where does the adventure begin?
We're going to kick off, Mike, with an appropriately named attitude called beginner's mind. And this approach is going to help us understand and maybe even cherish, Mike, a way of approaching every single moment in our lives with a bit of freshness, a little bit of coolness, and, like I say, in John's words, with a beginner's mind.
Beginner's mind is a lovely orientation to bring to the present moment. This moment is always fresh, always new. We've never been in this one before. And yet we bring so many ideas and attitudes and desires to every moment that we can't actually allow ourselves much of the time to see things as if for the first time. Imagine bringing awareness to your children with beginner's mind so that you actually see them not through your lenses of ideas and opinions about your children, but the miracle of them, the amazing nature of them. So this is something that we could bring to any moment. It has the virtue of sometimes we're so expert that our minds are just full of our expertise, but it leaves us without any realm for novelty or new possibility. In the mind of the expert, they say there are very few possibilities, but in the beginner's mind, there are infinite possibilities because we come to it fresh. So it's a kind of a discipline to try to bring beginner's mind to every aspect of your life and not be so stuck in our ideas and opinions about how much we like this or don't like that, or what the outcome of a particular situation might be. And when we come to things with this freshness, it actually, again, has tremendous transformative qualities associated with it. And when you bring it to other people and you're open and spacious with them and don't insist that they be the way they were half an hour ago or 2 years ago or whatever it is, they feel seen and recognized and met in a way that they might not otherwise experience.
So let's talk about that moment that he just finished with, like how people feel when you come with a beginner's mind, Mark. To me, what is so important is to truly come to a conversation with someone else with a beginner's mind, and that is to be open. I mean, he talked about novelty, but what was coming to me is to be really curious in a fresh and clean way. Now, the reason that this, I think, is actually so hard is that we all have bias. Like someone starts saying, oh, I think we should do this, and you're already thinking, oh, they're a total nutcase. This is going to be absolute lunacy. I'm going to shoot them down the first moment. This is the 10th stupid idea, right? This is how we act, isn't it? We find ourselves quickly like that. They haven't even finished the sentence and you've already cast judgment, right, Mark?
Yeah. I think for me, that definitely stands out. I think also there's an element where he's trying to help us understand that there are moments in our day that might feel a bit boring. You know, you might be doing the same thing each day. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's, I don't know, catching the bus to work or sitting in meetings and having to listen to colleagues that you've already heard from, or doing something, slightly more mundane. And I think what he's inviting us to do is see it as a beginner, come at it from a first time, like you say, with curiosity, and try and remove that expectation. But as you say, Mike, I mean, how challenging is this? This is a hard one to begin with, I'd say.
I think so, because I think if you said, how often do you turn up and sit with your partner with a beginner's mind? Or when you're doing something with someone that you truly appreciated. So I got a couple of ideas of what I try to do to be a little bit more present. Is when I go for a walk, even if it's the same kind of walking route that I might always take each day, I try and notice something. Like classic thing on the weekend, I was walking with my wife. We love to go for sunset walks. And I always love to point out some of the colors or patterns in the sky, because I am deliberately trying to make us curious, present, and frankly, grateful for the beautiful environment that we live in. So there's one little way I do it. I've got some crazy techniques I use, Matt. You want me to hit you with some of those?
You know what, Mike? I want to hear how you practice this idea of seeing things freshly.
Okay.
You're right. Seeing colors out and about, maybe noticing a new smell or something that the neighbors have done to their building, whatever it might be. What other practices have you got?
Okay, so here we go. So one of my hobbies is with music and DJing, and it has been a hobby for 33 years. Showing my age a little bit here.
What?
Jeez.
You're only 34?
Yeah, there you go. And one of the things I do when I'm working on a big mix, if it's during the day and I've been say working on it for an hour or two, and you kind of, when you're working on a hobby, you're just done. Like you're doing the thing, but you're not really there. You're just knackered. You've been working on it for a couple of hours. I'll go and sit in the sauna for 30 minutes because it totally resets me. So by the time that I'm back at the music, 90 minutes or maybe longer, I've cleared my head and I become back to the music with a fresh mind. I literally hear the music all over again. And some of the things I do is put them in different order. So I'm hearing them out of sequence just to surprise me. Or the mega thing I do for a beginner's mind is I get up early in the morning on the weekend and I work on my music first thing in the morning. No email, just a cup of coffee, maybe a cold shower, a little bit of stretching, straight into the music with the clearest of minds.
Yeah.
And so I've been stuck on a mix late at night. Do this trick of coming back to it in the morning first thing, solved in minutes.
I love this. This is Rick Rubin coming through live in the episode, isn't it? This is a practice in creativity. But yeah. I mean, you're right, Mike. It reminds me, maybe not the artist's way, maybe not Julia Cameron, but you're right in terms of the actual breakdown of trying to come at things with fresh eyes.
Yes,
that's exactly what it is. When I hear beginner's mind, it seems to speak to me around having a solution to those tasks that maybe we find a little bit boring. Like I say, maybe it's doing a repetitive task or speaking to a colleague, doing annual reviews or whatever it might be, something that is going to have to come around. For me, I try and really focus my time on learning something new. So trying to, maybe if you're sitting there with a friend, you could come at it and think, hey, I've never met this guy before. Maybe I'm going to listen as if I'm brand new. You could do the same for your family members or your wife. Just don't tell them that that's what you're doing. And just think, this is a brand new opportunity for me to learn something new, to be curious, open, and not have that autopilot, approach when you're thinking about something else and you're trying to stay present, but actually your mind's somewhere completely different.
Yeah, I mean, that almost reminds me of techniques I've heard of trying to find out something new about your friends or family. So that is a bit like learning something new, like a new hobby or a new skill, which really resets you. You can also say, I want to find out something new about this person, someone I've known for years, right? Try and find out something new. And that's where you have to be aware of with beginner's mind. I mean, the thing that, the caution I have is, hi, how are you? How's it going? Yeah, good. You? Yeah, good. Yeah, busy. Yeah, okay. How many times do you have that conversation?
Too regularly. Too regularly.
That is totally zero beginner's mind because you're just I must autopilot. How are you? I am good. How are you? Yeah, good. Yeah, busy. Yeah, good. Yeah. So you got to get out of that. So I like asking people, what are you working on? Are you working on something interesting? Different questions, mix it up a little bit, right?
Yeah, that's what I try and do with my friends. I try and force them into conversation points that maybe they feel a little bit uncomfortable with. Because sometimes that's when you get the most kind of juice out of the stone, so to speak.
Yes.
And actually, in my experience, when people ask me tough questions, when we've dug into tough topics, here, perhaps with a beginner's mind, those are the times when I'll step away, for example, from the show and think, hey, I think me and Mike actually found something that was quite new, quite unique, quite interesting here. So I like to come at things with that beginner's mind. However, having said that, though, I've never really, Mike, thought about it in such a way that Jon has broken down for us. Articulating it as a beginner's mind and physically putting your head into that practice and thinking, today I'm going to be a beginner. I'm going to go at it even if I am an expert, because expertise will drive me down a particular path. Maybe I need to see things as if I'm an apprentice again, a beginner again.
Yes.
And with Jon as our yogi master, maybe that's the perfect, he's the perfect teacher for us, isn't he?
Yes, totally. So I think a beginner's mind is like a pathway. He mentions this sort of infinite possibility. So if you're feeling a bit stuck, that is screaming, take a beginner's mind, see it, re-see it, find a way through some of the practices we mentioned, ask different questions, sensorially change things up, move to a different space, move to a different context.
Yep.
Just shake yourself up, because we're creatures of habit and we just get into zombie mode. But I'll tell you, there's a group of people who are far from zombies, Mark. Have you any thoughts as to whom that might be?
Look, we have a set of individuals that join us week in, week out, who I know, Mike, are out there really practicing their best selves and really digging into learning out loud with us every single week. So please welcome in all of those individuals: Bob and Dietmar, Marja and Connor, Lisa, Sid, Mr. Bonjour and Paul, Berg, Carmen, Joe and Samuela, Barbara, Deborah, Lasse, Steve, Craig, Ravi, Evert and Raul, Ola, Ingram, Venkata and Jet, Roger, Steph, Raw and Christoph, Laura, Gayla, Mike and Zachary, Austin, Ola, Andy, Jasper, Fabian, Guhong, Eddie and Lars, Mohammed, Marco, Ken, Ryan, Tryman, Natalie and Jason, Malcolm, Emily, Joanne and Edwin. Guys, thank you so much once again for being part of the experience of being members with us on the Moonshots show.
Well, I think we extend our gratitude to them and to the 250 Patreons who are following us, but they have yet to take the plunge to become a member. Please join us, become a member. You get access to the full Moonshot Master Series, but it also helps us pay all the bills that goes with hosting and running a show like this. So come on, become a member of the Moonshots Podcast, and you'll be able to start life with a beginner's mind. Heaven forbid, Mark, you might even move to non-judgment.
Yeah, this next one, Mike, is, I think, going to be quite a opportunity for us to deep dive into. We have a set of behaviors, I think, all of us, that invite, a kind of judging atmosphere to certain things. Maybe it's people, maybe it's situations. So this next attitude that Jon Kabat-Zinn is going to take us down into is how to observe life without judgment, without constant evaluation. So please, let's hear from Mr. Jon now, with a little bit of non-judgment.
Non-judging is a very important element of mindfulness practice. And in fact, is part of my working definition of mindfulness, which is the awareness that arises through paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. And the non-judgmentally is the real challenge. Because when you start to pay attention to what's on your mind, you very rapidly discover that we have ideas and opinions about everything, just about everything. And we're always judging things in terms of, I like that, I don't like that, I want that, I don't want that, this is good, that's bad. And it's like a steady stream of judging. So when we speak of mindfulness as being non-judgmental awareness, it doesn't mean that there won't be judgment. It means that you will be aware of how judgmental we actually are, and then not judge the judging. And when we relate to it in that kind of a way, then we begin to see that our judging is very often black and white. It's either this or that, good or bad, like, dislike, want, don't want. And we get imprisoned by that kind of view. But being non-judgmental doesn't mean that all of a sudden you get stupid and think, well, I'm not going to be judgmental, so I'll just walk out in the street in front of an oncoming truck. What difference does it make? No, it means that we will cultivate discernment. This is the capacity to see what's actually unfolding, but not to judge it, but to recognize it and to understand it in relationship to our experience. So when we speak about non-judgmental awareness, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about a very fine degree of discernment, of clarity, of wisdom, of understanding the interconnections between things, and at the same time, noticing the tendency to judge quite quickly, like, don't like, want, don't want, and to recognize that actually creates a kind of veil or a filter in front of our eyes that doesn't allow us to see things as they are, but to only see them through the lenses of our own ideas and opinions and likes and dislikes, which is practically blinding to us. So this is a wonderful discipline, the cultivation of awareness of judging and the cultivation of being gently non-judgmental or not judging the judging that we do discover in ourselves. And over days, weeks, months, and years, we can begin to actually find a way to navigate through our judging in such a way that it no longer dominates our lives in quite the same way. And we recognize when it comes up that it's actually, in some sense, toxic. And the more we challenge it and the more we rest in discernment and in pure awareness, the more we can live life authentically in the present moment without getting caught by our own habits of mind, unhealthy, if you will, habits of mind.
Non-judgment. Okay, so this one's been personally really helpful for me. What I discovered about myself, Mark, was that you waste a lot of time and energy judging. But also, if you think about it, who am I to judge anybody else? Because if you ask me, who's anybody to judge me? So if I think like, hey, people aren't entitled to judge me, that there's that ancient wisdom, you shouldn't judge because you have no idea the battles that someone is facing behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
And I find, let's do something fun where it's kind of hard not to judge. Let's take your favorite sports team. And they pick an odd-looking side and they go and play and you don't get the victory and you're like, those idiots, like that coach, does he even know what he's doing? And then you say, and those players, they weren't even trying. But here's the reality, Mark. Like, let's say it's a national sports team. They're the best players in the country. Do I really think they go out there not wanting to try? Do I really think that the coach goes out there to make a bad selection or a bad play to lose the game? Of course not. But you know what? I'm a fan sitting in the comfort of my home or in the stadium. Why get all so upset and judgy about players and about coaches? If you think about how crazy that is, I think that sets the scene for things a little closer home. I mean, when you think about you and I have both lived in the UK and Australia, and those audiences can get pretty nasty when their favorite sports teams don't win, right?
Yeah, I mean, I remember going to a number of football games. I know over here it's called soccer.
Yeah.
Football, I mean. Back in London, where, you'd have police on horseback, you'd have people throwing stuff in the streets. English hooligans get pretty upset when their sports team's not winning. And you know what they are, Mark?
Do you remember on Netflix, did you see the Beckham documentary?
Yes, that's right.
They had an effigy of him in a noose and they hung him, public hanging with his number on the back because he didn't play well enough to win. I think was it World Cup or the European Cup?
I think,
anyway,
yeah.
to think of the judgment that they are casting and the energy and anger that they are putting out in the universe, like that is, through this practice that Jon's talking about here of non-judging, when you just say, who am I to judge anyone?
Yeah.
Like, who really am I to judge anyone? That's very liberating because you don't waste all that crazy energy on your favorite sports team.
Well, and you're right. And Jon's creating quite an interesting bit of awareness in that clip, because we all do. I certainly go into pretty much every situation with a judgmental attitude. You know, let's say I'm going to order a coffee. The line is so long. I remember last time maybe they overcharged me, or the coffee wasn't that good, or I had to wait for so long to get, served or receive my coffee, whatever it is. There's so many attitudes that I know I subconsciously bring into pretty much every single experience with another person. And it's probably making me a little bit shorter with my patience. And I think that's because, as Jon's saying, it's that constant stream of internal dialogue, isn't it?
And this idea of saying something is either good or bad.
Yeah.
And I know these are like natural triggers inside of us, but I find that the danger here, like we make it extreme, like the Beckham documentary, like where people were like getting pretty out of hand. That's like a form of condemnation, right? Yeah. They are condemning David Beckham in that example. What I would say is Jon is really clear, like don't get into the game of condemning others.
No.
Because that judgment it's an energy that has guaranteed nothing good will come of judging of others. In fact, if you want to be really objective about it, let's say in business, if you're judging others, well, you're not going to get the win. You're not going to win the World Series of business if you're all bent out of shape judging others. Just like if we put it into a sports scenario, if a team and the fans are all blaming everybody, well, they're not winning the Super Bowl with that kind of behavior.
No.
Interestingly, if they're objective, without judgment, looking at the facts and asking themselves, how might we improve this? That is the course. So you move through the judgment and get into what are we seeing and how do we change things up for a better outcome? I find this really helpful because I think if you just say, I'm not going to judge the person, who am I to judge? That is such a powerful mantra. Yeah. I think it avoids wasting energy, but this rabbit hole, there's this evil matrix of condemnation, there's nothing good is going to come of that. So if you are upset about a situation, the judgment will prevent you from getting to the solution because you'll get in that spiral of blame and accusation and judgment. You're not moving anywhere closer to an outcome that is more positive, right?
No, that's it. What you should do is sit back and acknowledge, as we've found in our series on journaling, acknowledge the situation for how it is. This is happening right now. I can't control the traffic. I can't control the fans' reaction.
Even if you could control, Mark, if I was coaching on this right now, I'd say even if you can control, we are where we are.
We are where we are.
We have this situation, blaming, judging how we got here. At some point, we've got to move on, right?
Yeah. And I think that key step for me, Mike, when I'm getting booed by hundreds of thousands of people is to take a breath.
Yeah.
And pause before reacting. Because I am old enough now that I can tell when I'm feeling a little bit irritated. So I can sit back and think, okay, hang on, I'm feeling that little bit of irritation right now. Okay, well, let's pause because I don't need to react to this. And if I do react to it, it's probably going to be less favorable than it should be. It's nobody else's fault. They're not the ones controlling my emotions. I am. So if I can pause, let that awareness take over that judgment that I might be having and replace that reaction with something a little bit more positive. Hey, suddenly this feels like something worthwhile. This feels like an opportunity to, let's say, grow. Let's say, get out of it. What's your, I suppose, advice to people like David Beckham? What's your approach to being non-judgmental in your day?
Well, I mean, I think my advice would be more for the spectators judging David Beckett.
There you go. Yes, you're right.
But I would say, like, we are where we are, right? What can we do better? And who, how, and why do we do that? Where do we do that?
Yep.
A really practical thing that I would say is when someone brings an idea, let's just say you bring me an idea, Mark, and my temptation goes, that sounds bad. That sounds like a bad suggestion. I can just train myself really practically and say, oh, interesting. Tell me more. Now, there's two things going on there, right? One, I'm like, oh, interesting. Preventing, like, because once you say it's bad, I mean, conversation over. But then also, sometimes when people share the idea, let's say you're a bit sleepy and you kind of clumsily share the idea. And when I say, hey, tell me more, that helps you, like, be more articulate. And I go, actually, I don't mind some of that thinking, right?
Yeah.
But because I took the effort to listen and to ask questions in order to understand rather than to rush to judgment. So anyway, just really interesting. Tell me more. It's a really nice way of getting yourself out of, that is a crazy dumb idea. I don't know what you're thinking. What drugs are you taking? You're insane. You move to, like, tell me more. You know, help me understand. Really good ways of not judging what someone's saying.
Yeah, and it's removing that opportunity to label things as good or bad. You know, as Jon says, if we're going
where do you go when I say to you, Mike, that's a bad idea? I mean, that is pretty brutal.
You know what I'd do? I'd shut down.
Yeah.
You know? It might hold me back from sharing an idea next time. It might even make me be unpleasant to somebody else. You know, it has
That's such a good point.
Chain of events.
Because if you look at the work that we discovered with Patrick Lencioni and 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, if the radical candor is not safe in the organization, if the leader themselves is not vulnerable, how might you expect everyone else to share what's really on their mind?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And the non-judgmental approach, as we heard from Jon at the beginning of that clip, does seem like the most almost important element when it comes to being not only practicing mindfulness, but being a good leader, probably being a good family member.
Absolutely. So check this out. If we were in a company and we're 2 members of a 5-person management team, and you were able to say, guys, if I look at what's happening, we have really poor results in sales. So I'm wondering, how might we improve that? Versus, hey, Mike, you're head of sales. Sales suck.
Yeah.
You're making a mess. Like, the difference in the conversations that can come after that, like, as soon as you're apporting blame here, like, defenses come up, and then I'd say, well, it's the crappy product you gave me. We can't sell it.
Finger pointing.
And then it's back and forth, and it's like fist fights and hand grenades and all happening in the boardroom. Yeah. So when you are able to bring non-judgment, be that of yourself, rather than saying, I suck at sales, you can say, I'm struggling with sales. Could someone help me?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you not jump in and help?
Exactly.
And someone's just said, I'm struggling.
Yeah, I think what we all want to do is go out in our lives and help others. So if somebody comes to you with, was it Joseph and Guyon who brought it up? The concept, Mike, of inviting feedback from others. Because what it does is brings down those barriers so others feel more comfortable to come to you with maybe points of view, with ideas and so on, because you're leading by example.
Absolutely. I think at its highest form, Brené Brown and Patrick Lencioni would always say to you, if you admit your vulnerabilities in front of others, they're far more likely to admit theirs to you and ask for help. Yeah. But if you never share what you're struggling with, right? Why? What? Everyone's like, I don't want to get fired. Right?
Yeah.
I don't want to appear like I'm hopeless here.
No.
You know? So you can create a level of safety. And you know what's so beautiful, Mark? If we go back to the example where we say, hey, we're really struggling with sales, how might we improve it? If there is the non-judging happening around that, everyone's like, well, I have been thinking, I really think our data is the problem, or our product is a problem, or it's the officers, or whatever the thing is. And they feel like they can reveal their intuitional thought, right? Because they know that it is a safe place to do it, because there won't be any judging of what they put on the table. And it might be that they might say something that's not 100% the root cause, but then somebody else says, I know what you mean. It's like this. And everyone goes, yes, that's the problem, right? Aha, finally someone visualized it for it, crystallized it. That only comes from that back and forth where there's safety, lack of judgment, all about like, how might we improve it? Well, that's to me the power of this second thought. So you start fresh with a beginner's mind, but you don't jump to judgment. You don't condemn others, but rather you do the opposite. You create that space. I think that's really, really nice as opening things up. And I tell you what, we're mentioning a lot of the other authors that have written to this point. And Mark, there is one destination on the worldwide internet where they can get thoughts, inspiration, and love from Moonshots. Where might that be?
You're right. For those who are getting a little bit curious, they want to dive in a little bit further into some of these amazing authors and concepts that we've shared, you can pop along to moonshots.io. Online, on your phone, everywhere that you can go, on the internet, your library, any sort of public Wi-Fi, pop along to moonshots.io, leave a little breadcrumb for others to follow as well, because it is full of useful tips, tricks, links to all of our shows, 280 shows, plus I think 49 links to our master series, as well as a hyperlink where you can join up as a member. Obviously, you've heard that amazing trumpet. All of those individuals who are our members have gone along via that method. So please go on to moonshots.io if you want to find out a little bit more about the podcast and the authors that we're discussing.
You may even see a become a member button. Highly advisable to click on that one, because if you were to accept that, you might unlock something very, very new for yourself. But Mark, what else could we be accepting into our lives?
I love the idea that we've heard from Jon so far in terms of seeing things with fresh set of eyes, noticing things without labeling, without being judgmental. This next clip, Mike, that we've got is about acceptance and acknowledging things for what they are. So let's get in straight away to hearing what Jon has to say about acceptance being quite, Mike, an active process, which I think is quite an interesting idea. So let's dive straight in.
It's a very active process. There's nothing passive about it. It's not passive resignation, but it's an active recognition that things are actually the way they are. Sometimes they're not the way we want them to be. So acceptance doesn't mean that we can't work to change the world or to change circumstances of one kind or another. But it means that unless we accept things as they are, we will try to force things to be as they are not. And that can create an enormous amount of difficulty. If we recognize the actuality of things, then we have the potential to apply wisdom in that situation, actually shift our own relationship to what is occurring in ways that might be profoundly healing and transformative. But without acceptance of one's situation, then it's very difficult to know where to stand. And without knowing where to stand, it's very difficult to take the first step. So some things are very hard to accept, like when you experience pain, for instance, and in your body, and you don't know what it's from. It's very, very difficult to accept it, because we want to know what it's coming from. And if we don't have any answer for what is causing the pain, then it can be very, very difficult to accept it. But what we find working with chronic pain patients is that before you can actually work with pain and suffering, you need to actually put out the welcome mat for it and accept it as it is, because whatever has been done medically that could be done has been done, and you're still living with a certain degree of pain. But our people with chronic pain who come to our clinic experience is that there's a lot of different ways to actually work with pain, but the first step is to actually put out the welcome mat for it, which is very hard to do when you're suffering, but it's actually a gateway into freedom from suffering. So that's one of the most powerful ways in which acceptance can be brought to bear on healing and transforming one's life, and is a very, very powerful factor, and is a very, very powerful attitude in the cultivation of mindfulness.
Oh boy, that one is big, acceptance.
Hard.
Mark, what I love is he's visualizing this idea of putting out a welcoming mat for acceptance. And boy, have I got a lot of thoughts on this. So, when we're going through, he mentioned suffering, right? We go through a lot of suffering over things that have happened, maybe things that haven't even happened. We're already suffering.
Yeah.
Just the possibility that it might happen. We have to laugh at ourselves. So my thing here is I think so much of the suffering comes from the fighting of the following thought. It's not fair. It's happening to me.
Yeah.
Why me? I don't deserve this. I think, and I'm speaking from very personal experience, Mark, I think we can get very caught up in what the hell? I did my job. What the hell? I worked hard and yet it didn't work out. Or I did my bit in the friendship, in the relationship, and it didn't work out. And I think the suffering, the extended stress and anxiety comes from fighting with that kind of mindset. Not fair. Why me? Why is it easier for everyone else? All of that, it's all resistance. And when I think about resistance, you are pushing against the situation. Yet the reality is, why would you push against a situation that has occurred?
Yeah.
It's happened. The situation is here. So living in this almost form of denial, it's not fair, it's unjust, and all of that thinking, that is actually extending the suffering.
Yeah.
Because you haven't, to use Jon's point, you haven't accepted.
Yeah. You're right. That resistance, when you're pushing against that situation, and maybe that situation can't be changed. Jon's obviously referencing, pain, suffering, and so on. It doesn't have to be medical. It can be pain, suffering from anxiety, from stress, from some challenge that you've got to work that requires a bit of courage. What he's saying there, and as you've just pointed out, Mike, is when something can't be changed, you're pushing against a wall that you're just going to exhaust yourself on.
Yes.
And instead, take that courage, take that energy, trying to turn it into courage. It is what it is. That's something that me and my wife always say. When things turn around and we think, hang on, why on earth has that happened? Well, you know what? We can't change it. It is what it is. Let's get comfortable with it. Maybe we don't like it, but let's figure out how we can get through it together, solo, whatever the situation might require, and come at it with a lens of maturity rather than this is unfair, throwing the toys out the pram. I'm not going to have this, and I'm going to take it out on everybody else.
Yeah. And, he talked about physical suffering and stress and trauma. That is the lack of acceptance raging inside of you. Right?
It is. Yeah. It's you feel unsettled, don't you?
Oh, totally.
You're
agitated,
sick,
tight,
sweaty.
All the stuff, right? Can't think straight.
Yeah.
So, for me, acceptance, I had written down, it is what it is. Okay. We are where we are. Because, I actually had a tricky situation in business recently. And the most important thing for me to do was, look, we are where we are. And I don't want to get into any judgment. So there's no judgment here. I was literally saying this in meetings. No judgment here. We are where we are. Yeah. Just what it is. Not you, me, him, her, or whatever. It's just we are where we are. It's okay. Yeah. And journaling and writing on that, but also saying it. We are where we are.
Yeah.
And even mantras of like, there is no judgment here, to avoid, but you said you'd do this and you didn't do it. And I did all these extra things. Like all of that kind of, shall we call that judgments? Right. Yep. That goes nowhere. There's just nothing. It's really a waste of energy. So you may as well say, all right, we are where we are. Because the funny thing is, the quicker you get on the same page of the reality of the current situation, the closer you are to working on solutions. But if you're stuck in we're not even accepting where we're at, we're still full of judgment, those two bad habits together, you're not resolving anything.
That's it. Get quicker to that source of solutions by analyzing the situation without that emotion, without the judgment.
Yeah, so let's play it back in personal terms. We've all had situations with partners or friends where we weren't on the same page and you're in a challenging situation.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have we seen situations, particularly socially, when people have one or two drinks, where blame get thrown around, people not accepting, judging, blaming, you did this, we did that, not even accepting the situation? Well, we all know where those friendships and relationships end up, right?
Yeah. Yep.
It gets a little bitter, doesn't it?
It does. It gets a little bit bitter, a little bit one-sided. It's one person probably feels like they're carrying the brunt a little bit, and let's say it's you, being the person that feels like you're carrying the brunt. Well, that you're going to feel pretty tired with it all. Maybe you feel a bit hurt. Maybe you feel frustrated, and that's going to be the pathway to figuring out whether you part ways. Yes. And you mentioned radical candor earlier. Crucial conversations is a topic that we talk about a lot. And I think, as you demonstrated with your own personal situation, Mike, when you start to talk about stuff with the individuals that are involved, let's say it's a friendship or a relationship, that's the type of, a plaster that can be applied to help you accept it is what it is. Yeah. And move from, that point of resistance into some clarity, I guess you could say. For me, when I feel really like I need to dig in and accept something, it's often from a point of noticing it in my body first. I might be like, this is, I'm pretty uncomfortable with whatever it is.
What's your first tell that you haven't accepted something, there's a bit of stress in the body?
You know what? I think the heat, I think.
Oh.
I think it's
just feeling hot and clammy.
Yeah, it's less of the cartoon character with the steam coming out their ears. I'm not like Popeye with that kind of, I don't know, rage or whatever it is coming out, but instead it's a kind of internal heat where I think, this feels a little bit. This is making my body feel a bit weird.
Like queasy? What do you mean? Like queasy or something, or?
No, a bit clammy, bit hot, like you want to move, like you want to run, like you want to go and do something.
Agitated, flustered.
Yeah, I think that's it. It's those sensations that come up that ultimately are energy. That takes a lot of energy that it's creating that could be moved to something else. Yeah. And I think what I think Jon is inviting us to do when you start noticing that is, be curious. As we know from the journaling and mindfulness that we've done on the show, notice it without labels. Try and look at it with a lens of not trying to get rid of them. Just be like, oh yeah, I'm feeling pretty hot at the moment. Why am I so energetic? What is this new awareness that I've got? And instead try and force it to, or try and encourage myself to thinking, it is what it is. Let's figure it out.
Yeah, you're going to say it like in a Jon
Kabat-Zinn.
Jon Kabat-Zinn kind of style. It is what it is. Okay, I got one for you. So I have like physical tells like neck and shoulder tightness.
Oh yeah.
I have monkey mind, like I keep going back to a thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That I haven't accepted it. So my brain just wants to go back and wrestle with it.
Yeah, I do that.
Yeah. And I'm like, why am I I've had this thing where I'm like on a run listening to some great music and something comes back up. And I'm like, literally like, why has this thought come back to me? I thought I dealt with this morning. Why am I still having this? And I'm like frustrated. But the big one, Mark, here's the big one. Restless sleep.
Oh, yes, of course. That makes sense.
So invariably, my default is a good sleeper. So it can work with some excitement. If I'm a bit excited about something, I can kind of wake up at like 5 and I'm like, woohoo, let's go. So that's in a positive sense. On a negative sense, this is so crazy. It can be like minor things as well. So it might not even be the thing that's really bothering me, right? So let's say I got a big project and it's not going well or something. It's not like the project, I wake up and go, oh my gosh, the project's not going well. I have this weird thing. I wake up and say, oh, that person didn't get back to me on this little thing. And it just agitates me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why did I wake up at 2:30 in the morning to have that thought?
Yeah.
And it's not even the big thing. It's the little thing, Mark.
Oh, no.
But the thing I've discovered through journaling and just reflection is there is this restlessness. You talked about it being agitated. What happens in my sleep is these thoughts somehow kind of knock me out of my sleep. And then I have to battle to get myself back to sleep because it kind of sets the monkey mind off. So that's when I know I've really not accepted something going on. Yes, the physical, but also the mental as well.
Yeah, I've had dreams about things that are causing me anxiety or restlessness. I suppose that's them coming to the surface.
Or you just wake from your sleep, hasn't been a particularly good sleep, and you're just like, oh, that wasn't what I needed, you know?
Yeah, it's an amazing connection, how your subconscious is
wrestling.
Based on. Yeah, it's wrestling, and it's influenced by our waking emotions and behaviors.
Yeah.
You know, those 3 that we've learned from Jon today is just a kind of introduction into how we can react each day with those 9 attitudes, which obviously, as we've teased before, for those members and listeners, we will be diving in over the next couple of episodes, won't we, Mike?
That's right. We're going to do all 9. So we've done the first 3 and they work in some nice batches. So the next show is going to be a big moving along on the mind. But Mark, when you think about a beginner's mind, when you think about non-judgment and acceptance, what's the homework assignment for Mark Pearson-Freeland?
Look, I think the beginner's mind is such an interesting idea. I've probably forgotten the last time I approached something with fresh or feeling like they were fresh eyes. I think non-judgment and acceptance are intrinsic things that we have to put into practice. But today, Mike, this week, I'm going to try and lean into that beginner's mind. What about you?
Ooh, I mean, frankly, I'm having a hard time choosing between these 3. I think I could do much better on all of them. Probably acceptance is where I put up the biggest fight. You know, I try and force through things, like being a force of nature and get myself into some challenges there. So that's going to be my homework assignment. Acceptance, it is what it is, Mark. But I'll tell you what else. What is, and that is my gratitude for you helping me pull together this show. So thank you to you, Mark Pearson-Freeland, and thank you to you, our listeners, our viewers, and especially to our members here on episode, wait for it, 280. That's right. We went into the first 3 of 9 attitudes of mindfulness from Jon Kabat-Zinn, famous author and practitioner of mindfulness. And it all began, strangely enough, with the beginner's mind to see things fresh and with curiosity. And if you do that, it becomes a little bit easier to go into the second practice, which is non-judgment. It's not good, it's not bad, it's interesting. Tell me more. That starts you on this process. And as challenges do come up, because hey, it's life and challenges will happen, if you can move towards accepting it is what it is, it opens up the possibility of moving forward and being the very best version of yourself. And that is absolutely what we are all about here on the Moonshots Podcast. That's a wrap.